Hey guys, Dean here. We are here. If you can't find it, grind it. That's right. We're going to talk about shifting. Let's get right into it. We'll start off with the difference between transmissions. We got a 10-speed transmission, we got a 15-speed, we got a 13 and an 18. And the reason I didn't do them all in order is because the 10 and the 15 are very, very similar transmissions. It's almost an identical transmission, as is a 13 and an 18.
Hey, are you new to trucking or thinking of getting your Class 1 license? Well, you're in luck because you've stumbled on the right channel. This channel is all about trucking. In fact, there's a whole section of educational videos that you can greatly benefit from. Videos on how to do proper PTIs, coupling and uncoupling your trailer, and much, much more. I'll link the series below so you can take advantage of it. And now, back to that video.
I'm going to try to say this the best I can that it makes sense, but basically a 10-speed transmission, this one is an 18, but basically a 10 has your 4 gears, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then your 2 reverse, and that's your 10 gears. It does have a range selector in a 10-speed. So this is your high-low range selector. So you're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. You're gonna click your range selector up. You go 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how you get through the gears. You have 2 reverse gears. You got a reverse low, reverse high. In a 15-speed, you get one of these fancy little things over on the side. This is called your splitter. So with a 15-speed, the only time you can use this splitter is when your range selector is in low range. So some of you guys have heard deep reduction. That's what it is. So basically I get my bull low gears when I'm in my lowest gears. So I'll put that into first and I can go 1, 1 high, down 2, 2 high, 3, 3 high, 4, 4 high. And that's going to be that. Once I come up into my high range, that splitter won't move. It gets stuck there. So I can't split the high gears. And that is the difference between a 10-speed transmission and a 15-speed transmission. Good transmissions, depending on what you're hauling, where you're going. The reason I don't like the 10s and the 15s is because there's so much of a lag in between gears when I'm shifting. So when I'm running heavier loads, running into mountains and stuff like that, if I want to be traveling on them to try to gain gears and stuff like that, is a lot harder to do on a 10 or a 15. They use a lot of 15s in logging and stuff like that where you need that deep reduction, really low bull low gears. Then we have a 13 and an 18. 18 speed, my favorite transmission of all. A 13 is almost identical to the 18. Now, much like the 15 and the 10, the 13 speed will only use the range selector when it's in high gear. So where the 15 would only do it when it's in low gear, and 13 speed will only do it when it's in high gear. Then you can use your selector. So once I've gone through my gears, I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I come up into high gear and I go 5. Now I can go 5 high, 5 low. I go 5 high, split back down 6, 6 high, split back down 7, split up 7 high, back down 8 and 8 high. If you go through your mind and you count all those gears out, it turns out to 13 gears. In an 18 speed, I can split every gear. So it doesn't matter if it's in high range or low range, they will all split. So now I get kind of the best bang for the buck because like the 15 speed, I get that 1, 1 high, 2, 2 high, 3, 3 high, 4, 4 high. Then I can split back up and I go 5, 5 high, 6, 6 high, and so on all the way through my gears. It gives me so much more versatility of what I'm going to do. So no matter if I'm pulling a super heavy load or I'm light and I don't need to split, so if I don't need to use my splitter, I can just drive it like an 8-speed. If I'm super heavy, I can split every single gear. Myself, when I'm driving, I tend to split gears anyways. I have a few drivers that have talked to me and they're like, man, how come your shifts are so smooth? I says, because I practice it all the time. I like to play games with myself to keep myself on point. When I'm at a yard and I have a really heavy load on, I'll split every single gear driving through that, you know, the job site or something, just so I stay on point and I'm used to shifting all those gears. It's kind of like a use it, you use it or lose it type of a deal, you know. If you're never using it and you're never splitting, and the only one you ever split is that top gear, you know, just so you get that top end highway speed, then when it comes time to having to do some hard shifts going up a hill or down a hill or emergency braking and stuff like that, those shifts aren't going to be there for you. That's going to be the find it, grind it kind of situation that's going to go on there. Another game I like to play is I'd like to see if I can go from one destination to another destination with ever having to touch my brake. So that includes getting onto a highway and getting off the highway. So when I'm getting off the highway, what I like to do is, as I'm coming up near the off ramp, I know I'm going to need to slow down for this off ramp. Depending on what off ramp it is and how, you know, tight the turn is, I will start gearing down before I get to the off ramp. I'll drop a gear or two. As I'm coming off the off ramp, I'm using my gears. I'll often use my Jake brake because, hey, Johnny Jake brake is in the house, right? I like to Jake brake down. I like the engine to slow me down. I like my gears to slow me down. And if you shift all the way down in your gears, you can basically almost come to a stop at that stop sign. And when you get to the stop sign, then you have to touch your brake at the last second. And that's just to hold you there so you don't start rolling backwards or rolling into the intersection. It's a good game to play. If you haven't tried it, give it a go. Let me know in the comments below if you made it from one destination to another without touching your brakes once. That's going to tell you that you're a pretty good driver. You are, you know, you're judging your distance around you, because, you know, it could be equally said that, hey, Dean, yeah, but I'm on the highway. There's cars in front of me. The car pulled in front. Yeah, but if you keep your distance, it doesn't matter if that car pulls in front, right? So it's a fun little game. Let's see how many of you guys can send me in the comments a thumbs up that you made it from a destination to another without touching that brake once. Well, except for at the stop sign. And then, so what's the difference between clutching, double clutching, and, you know, is it okay to shift without using my clutch at all? Absolutely. I see no problem. What I used to do when I was in driver training and management position doing hiring and stuff, the guys that asked me in a driving interview or a road test, you know, do I have to use the clutch? And I said, if you're going to grind my gears, then absolutely, yeah. But if you can do it without grinding my gears, then knock yourself out, right? Like, I mean, if you know how to do it and you can do it properly, then knock yourself out. But if you're doing it and you're grinding every gear, I'm going to hold it against you, you know, like it's going to be one of those things. But is it hard on the transmission? Not if you're doing it properly. Is it going to give me better fuel mileage? I don't believe it changes your fuel mileage a bit if you're shifting properly. Again, you know, if you're not over revving the engine and these gears are shifting in like butter, then no, it's not going to affect your fuel mileage at all. Let's explain the clutch for a second. So I don't know if we can see the clutch. Okay, so the clutch. The clutch is actually only that. That clutch will push all the way in. But when I'm shifting, if I'm pushing that clutch here, then I'm actually going beyond what the clutch is. So if you touch your clutch, you'll go like this and you'll feel it stop right here at the first one. So it goes down and it kind of stops here. So that's all the clutch is. So when I'm shifting, that's all I'm going to be clutching is this much. Once I go past here and I start to here, which we would do in a regular car, I'm now starting to engage my clutch brake. So when I'm shifting like that, I'm burning my clutch brake out. You're going to get to a point where, you know, sometimes when you're in the truck and you're coming to a set of lights and you put your foot on the clutch and you go to put it in gear and it's grinding. It's like, and it takes a second before it goes in gear, then it pops in gear. That's because your clutch brake is starting to wear. A little the plates on it, the pressure plates and stuff are wearing on it, and it's not braking properly. When you actually put it into gear, when you want to put it into gear, the proper thing to do is don't try to push this in and put it into gear right away. Push that clutch all the way to the floor, hold it for about 2-3 seconds, then put your truck in gear, and it'll pop in almost every time. If it doesn't, just slightly ease back on that and it'll pop into gear. Then you're not going to be grinding those gears up like crazy. try not to push past that clutch brake when you're shifting. So when you know, try and never push past that. Don't overwork that clutch. Remember, the clutch is literally about 2 inches. You're gonna find that when you do that, your shifts are gonna be so much cleaner. The same thing like when you're double clutching is gonna be our RPMs. So when I want to shift on my RPM gauge, most people rev this RPM way up here. We get way up into these high numbers. It's not that it's wrong, but that's going to be in a situation where, you know, I'm going up a hill or something, or I have to power. I need that extra power to get it up to that, because when I'm going up a hill, that RPM is going to drop so fast. Here, when we're driving normal down a straight road, that RPM comes down a little bit slower. So if I'm going to shift without a clutch, or when I'm even double clutching, is I want to shift at a lower RPM. I want my truck to do the work, right? I want the truck to drive me, not for me to drive the truck. I say it that way because, you know, you get stressed out and it's like, oh my God, you know, I'm in traffic and I gotta shift so much and shifting, it's just driving me crazy. You know, it shouldn't be that way. Let the truck do all the work. The truck has a giant motor in it, and that motor just, all it wants to do is pull weight. You know, it's like going to the gym and, you know, I want to do the lifting. I don't want a machine to do it for me. Here I'm doing the same thing. The truck is the machine. So shift at a lower gear, maybe 1200 RPM, somewhere around there, and it's gonna pop in every single time, up and around 12. If you have to, you can get them up to around 15. When I wanna drop a gear, I need to get that RPM back up to about that 15, so it'll pop into the other gear. So if you're shifting, you bring it up, you know, say I shift at 10, I drive it back up, I bring it up to around 1300 RPMs. By the time it drops, I'm back down to around 1000 RPMs, and it shifts in very easy. I hope that makes sense the way I'm saying it, but try shifting at lower RPMs and you'll find that the truck does all the work. If it's enough that the truck's starting to shake, then you're shifting at too low of an RPM, right? That truck shouldn't be shaking and bouncing. It should just be at that sweet spot. So I'm gonna say around 1200 RPM, 12 to 1300 RPM max. You're gonna find are gonna be your optimum shifting pattern. And then again, make sure you get that rev up a little bit so you can downshift. If you're driving a standard, you gotta know how to downshift, period. No ands, ifs, or buts. It's really important because coming down hills and stuff like that, you want to be able to do it. And when you're going up a steep grade, if you don't know how to downshift, then you're going to be screwed. What's going to end up is you're going to go up a steep grade with a heavy load on. You're going to try to catch a gear. You're going to miss that gear. And as soon as you miss that gear, you're going to try to drop a gear to get a different gear, and you'll never drop them fast enough. And it will take you to a point where you might as well just leave that thing out of it. You're going to come to a full brake. Now you're going to have to start on a grade going uphill in a bull low just to get that truck moving. Probably going to be bouncing all around like you're riding a mechanical bull in a bar somewhere. You'll be bouncing all over trying to get this thing rolling. And that's if you know how to finesse it and you don't like twist the drive shaft out of it or something. So if you're going to drive a standard, if that's the thing, it's cool. It's the way to go through and through. Nothing against you automatic guys, but meh, automatics, right? Just not my deal. I'd love a standard 18. All right. So I hope that helped you guys out a little bit. Some guys, you'll hear them going down the roads, you hear them shifting with a Jake on. It's got that cool little sound to it, so it kind of gives you that snort at the end of each shift. You know, you get that power going through it, you get and then you hear it kind of go as it shifts into the next gear. Yeah, it sounds really cool, but you got to be even, your shifting game has to be even more on point. It has to be a fast shift and your RPMs can't be off. If you're trying to do that and your RPMs are off, you're gonna miss your shifts like crazy. It just drops your RPM so fast, so you gotta be on point. But it does sound cool. Like, hey, if you got a good exhaust, not in a Freightliner. Sorry, Ronan. All right, anyways, I hope you guys got something out of this. If you guys got any tips and hints that I missed, comments below for sure. I love reading them. If I said something that didn't make sense, feel to ask questions on it or correct me. Hey, I'm definitely not know-it-all kind of guy. I just try to hand out all my tips, things that I've learned through the years. Like us, subscribe, hit that bell. God, if you don't hit the bell, you're not gonna get notified. How are you gonna know when this cool shit comes out? And like I always say, keep the shiny side up, the rubber side down. We will see you next time for another video. Goodbye.